So hi friends, in the last video we have seen the positive impacts of GST and that analysis we have done after the completion of 5 years of implementation of GST, and there are various positive impacts are there, and industry, and according to some surveys almost 90% of the industry are supporting this goods and services tax, and even all the state governments are also barring some few concern, but majority are supportive of this goods and services tax. But in spite of having that many positive impacts, but still it is also facing some of the challenges, and these challenges we must address in order to streamline the entire GST process. The whole GST process is not completely streamlined even today. Still some problems are there. So I'll discuss some of the challenges and I also explain the way forward to this goods and services tax. See, first of all, there are some administrative challenges are there. I'll mention. See, the first administrative challenge is because we have started a new system, it is new to India, it's a very important and very crucial reform. It has reformed the entire indirect tax structure. We are not sure about how exactly it is going to work. See, we have brought some rules. Again, later we thought like whether it is working in favor, or is there any scope for misuse, or is it not working proper, or is it leading to a lot of complexity, or is it leading to evasion. So these are all, it's all like trial and error method we have done, because we don't know it fully, we don't have that experience. And in that process frequently we have changed the rules, regulations, we have issued many notifications, we have issued many circulars, and we have issued the circulars, rules, GOs, everything to streamline the process. But that process has created lot of confusion among the traders, or business people, because if you change the rule and regulation, and again he has to, because all the suppliers and all because in this entire supply chain, both forward and backward, both must comply with all these rules and regulations, and when it comes to the tax rate also, he must, all of them have to comply. So it has created some problem in administering this, that frequent rules and changes, and at least government should stop doing that, at least do their homework properly, and should not go for this frequent change of even tax rates, rules, regulations, notifications, orders, circulars, whatever it may be. Okay, so that is one important aspect. Second one is, it is with respect to the refunds. So I said already, the refunds are possible in case of both exports and the inverted duty structures. There is lot of delay that is happening, and this delay leads to lacking of lot of capital with the government. The point is an exporter, you have to compensate the taxes which are already paid, and if you are unable to release on time, then lot of amount of capital is lying wasted with the government. If you release that to that person, probably he may use it for another purpose and he may enhance the production process. So these delays are leading to lot of problems, like there is no enough amount of availability of capital. So we should do on this front. We are doing, but still there are some problems. We are streamlining, we must change on this front. Next one is, it is about the compliance of some of the MSMEs and even unorganized sector. This is very, very important. Unorganized sector people, they are actually not in this entire farm net. We must bring them. So that task should happen. And even some of the MSMEs, those who are in rural area, they are facing some difficulty even though the process is simplified. So you must take care about these MSMEs who are facing difficulty, and you must bring the unorganized sector into this. And in this unorganized sector, actually, because they don't avail the input tax credit on their raw material, suppose if they are supplying raw material from a GST registered firm, then because he is not registered, he don't get that GST, he don't get that ITC benefit. Automatically the burden on this unorganized sector will increase. So this is another challenge. Next one is when it is come to the managing of tax disputes. Tax disputes. Actually, this GOM has already constituted a committee to looking into this appointment of the GST appellate tribunal, because now every state is having its own GST commissioner. They are deciding on the cases, but every state commissioner is deciding it in a different way for the same case. So that is a problem. So in order to bring some sort of uniformity, yes, you must bring, already GOM is constituted, you must make that process so fast, and there must be a national level appellate body to receive the appeal from across the country to maintain some sort of uniformity in interpreting or in implementing the rules and regulations of GST. Next, the another important challenge is with respect to this National Anti-Profiteering Authority. National Anti-Profiteering Authority. This authority, this is a statutory body mentioned under the GST Act in order to keep check on the irregular and unfair profiteering. Irregular and unfair profiteering. That means, suppose if the taxes are, if the rate is reduced by the GST Council, because the rates are decided by the GST Council. If the rates are reduced and if you don't transfer it, suppose earlier it was 18%, now they make it 5%. This benefit of 13 you should transfer it to the consumer. If you don't transfer, then I have every right to file an appeal in the National Anti-Profiteering Authority. So this is to check on the irregular and unfair profiteering, but unfortunately this is not maintaining a uniform standards or a specific guidelines for a specific industry. So this industry should also work, this authority should work in a better way. So that is one thing that I can say. Next, delays in implementation of GST Council decisions. So GST Council is taking the decisions, but it takes some time to implement. So that delay should be removed. Next, the one major important thing is, these are all related to administration and appellate, but now this is very important thing related to structure. So it is related to the rationalization of GST. Rationalization of GST, very, very important. So rationalization of the GST means, what we said when we have launched the GST, we said it's a one nation, one tax. We said one tax rate. But are we having one tax rate? No, we are having 80 different slabs. We need to bring it to the one. That is what the objective. So when you will rationalize this, suppose if I want to give the most of the items are fall into this different structure: 5%, 12%, 18%, 28%, and even I am writing 0%. See, here I am writing the revenue, and here I am writing the items. That means the items which taxed 5%, they are contributing to around 10% of revenue in the GST. So of the total revenue, 10% of the revenue is coming from the taxed item, the 5% tax on items. So that means the 10% of the revenue is coming from this. Next, 8% of revenue contribution is coming on the items which are taxed at 12%. Next, 18%, it is contributing more. It is around 60 to 65% of revenue that is coming from these items. 28% tax items are contributing to the 16% of revenue. Anyway, these don't contribute any revenue, it's zero. When it comes to the items, the 5% tax is imposed on 14% of the items, and 12% of the tax is imposed on 17% of the items, and the 18% of the tax is imposed on 43% of items, and 28%, and I'll write to 0%, 7%, and when it comes to the 28%, earlier we have 230 plus items, but now we brought it to only 30 items, And if you see, if you looking into this, and apart from this, there is an exempted, there is a 3%, there is a 3%, there is a 0.25%. So now the point is, we have to make into one single tax. How will you do? The point is, it is a very difficult task. It is a very difficult task, but still you need to do. At least you need to bring to that revenue neutral rate. Actually, when we started this entire GST structure, we thought like revenue neutral rate should be some, we thought it like 15 to 16%. That should be the revenue neutral rate. That means there should be a one tax rate, and the tax rate should be around 15 to 16%. But that imposing one tax is becoming very difficult in India, because you cannot tax the poor people and rich people at the same rate, or the items which are daily, the items which are necessary, which are essentials, and the items which are luxury, and the items which are sin, you can't tax at the same rate. See, you cannot tax the salt, benz car and tobacco and alcohol, tobacco at the same rate. Alcohol anyway, it's out of GST. That means alcohol, the cigarette is a sin good, that must be taxed at high rate. Benz car is a luxury item, it must be taxed at a high rate. Salt is an essential item, it must be taxed at a different rate. So because of inherent social inequalities and the social structure of India, we haven't went for that single rate. That is how we are end up with these many rates. But anyhow, these many rates will create lot of confusion in the minds of the taxpayers. That is the reason why at least you must bring it to three different level, and that should be whatever the revenue neutral rate that you are calling 15, and 15 plus something and 15 minus something. This 15 minus something on the essential items, 15 plus something is on some luxurious goods and sin items, 15 is on more standard items. That is how you need to tax. That is what exactly the recommendation. Whether it is 15 or 16 or 17 or 18, that will be decided it later. So, but the point is, now you need to do that. Now you need to do that, because at present, initially we thought that revenue neutral rate should be around 15.5%, but now we are end up with 11.6%. That means average rate of GST is 11.6% in India today. That means on average every item is attracting 11%, but we wanted to make it 15. And ultimately, because of all these things, we are end up in only 11.6. So this is reducing the loss of, this is reducing the income. This is reducing the income. So we must make it to 15. For that, you need to rationalize it. That means you need to add this 15 to 12 to 1, and this you need to reduce, or somewhere you need to make it 2 or 3. Somewhere you need to make it 2 or 3. That is important, that rationalization should happen. Rationalization should happen. But the point is, when it comes to the rationalization, there must be an appropriate time. Because when there is an already inflation in the economy, you cannot increase the rate of these two items, because it adds up to the inflation in the economy. You can bring some of the items, because around 7% of the items are zero tax. You can add, you can bring it to the tax rate of 5% or 12%, but it will add to the inflation. The only point is the appropriate time. In an appropriate time, you must take that decision to rationalize it. Second one is, it must satisfy the needs of the poor people, and also it must tax the luxury and sin items. So by keeping that point into mind, and by looking into this poor people into mind, and also by looking this RNR into the mind, we need to rationalize. This is one important aspect that is pending and that is necessary. Okay, next. Apart from this rationalization of the GST, next one is the another important thing is compensation to the states. This is very, very important. Compensation to the state. Compensation. See, when we have brought the GST in the year 2017, we said like by the time of 2022, our compounded annual growth rate will be 14%. That means in the revenues of every state will reach to 14%. After that, you don't require any compensation. But because of the COVID-19, because of the inherent problems in the GST structure, not all the states are reached to the 14%, and some states like Punjab, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, and even a union territory called Puducherry, they are lagging behind. There is a huge gap between their growth rate and 14%. So still they are expecting some compensation. And apart from this, many other states are also expecting like this period should be extended. That is what they are demanding. This period should be extended. That is what they are demanding. But union government is not interested to extend this. Union government is not interested in extended to this, because I'll tell you the reason why they are not interested to extend it. But this is a problem, okay? Till 5 years there is no problem, because you have given an assured 14%, but now you are going to remove it. Now the state may face lot of problem, because earlier in the overall GST collection, what we are doing, in the overall GST collection, almost including the compensation, I think around 60 to 70% that is going to the states, and remaining only 30 to 40% revenue is with the center. But now after this, the completion of this compensation period, because compensation is only for 5 years. Now if the compensation period completed, then most of the revenues are with the union, and states are having only less revenues, and they are saying like either you should increase this compensation period, or otherwise will come to a point that whatever the GST that you are collecting, total GST, in that you keep 30% with you, or 32, you keep 40% with you, and remaining 60% you just share it to the states. This is what they are demanding. Or you can increase the compensation period, or otherwise whatever the GST total, SGST, CGST and IGST, so whatever we are collecting, just keep 40% with you, and remaining 60% you share it with all the states. That's what they are demanding. Because once the compensation is over, they are going to get less amount of money. So this is a big concern for this states. So that is why they are having some problem, like states are demanding for this extending compensation. Next one is this: address the inverted duty structure. Very, very important. Address inverted duty structure. Inverted duty in the sense, in the last video I have explained, suppose my raw material is 100, in that the tax is on 20%, means 20 rupees of tax that he has already paid to the government. When I purchase this raw material 100 rupees, and when I add 10 rupees of value, and my total product now become 110. But if the tax on this product is just only 10%, then it will be 22, then it will be only 11 rupees. It will be 11 rupees. Already the supplier has paid 20 rupees. I'll get that 20 rupees back. I'll get 20 rupees, but my tax is only 11. That means I should get money from government 9 rupees. I don't pay anything to the government. It is a loss to the government. So wherever the intermediary goods are having high amount of tax rate, and the final product is having less rate, you must increase this 20, 30, you make it 20, so that it will become 22. So already 20 paid. If you pay 20 rupees to the government, it's fine, there is no loss. And please change this inverted duty structure. So rationalizing the GST duties, addressing the inverted duty structure, and also looking into the compensation, whether you want to compensate it, or whether you want to extend the compensation, or whether you want to agree to the state's mechanism like 60:40, or you will find any other solution, or will you assure the state government that don't worry, your revenues will increase. Anyhow, we need to address that aspect. That is important. Next, the another important aspect is the GDP. We said like GDP, because economy grows, economy will increase. The only point I can tell you, the economy will certainly increase, but the economic performance or the increase of GDP, is it alone depending on only GST structure? No, it will depends on many things. It depends on the strong fundamentals of your economy, the skill set that is available, the infrastructure that is available, the ease of doing business, the rules and regulations, labor reforms. So there are many things are linked. So in that process, we have simplified the GST. So because of the simplification of the GST, we are able to attract some investments, or we are able to promote industry. But we need to do on other fronts also. And recently, because of the COVID-19 and because of the external crisis, not because of internal, that means whether it can be related to Russia, Ukraine or anything, because of that there is a problem in the GDP, but again we are picking up. So the thing is, the fall of GDP, you can't attribute it to the GST. Initially there was initial hiccups, that I can understand, but when the process is getting streamlined, there are other problems that are hit the GDP. Because of that, GDP has come down, but not because of GST. The same case with the inflation. I said if the GST come down, definitely the prices come down and it will reduce the inflation. But the point is, already there is a finance ministry survey that the 4% of family income, there was a saving of 4% of family income per month. The inflation, actually the present day inflation which you are calculating CPI, it won't affect by the GST, because almost the 50% of the items of the CPI basket are either they attract 0% tax in GST or they are exempted from the GST. So even if you are, whether you implemented GST or don't implement GST, they don't affect, because 50% of the items are not part of this entire GST structure. That means 0% are exempted. So there is no direct impact. But the problem is the inflation is because of some other items. The inflation is because of some other items and because of some other reason. See, let us take the case of vegetable prices are increasing. Is it because of GST? No, because of seasonal problem. Take the case of petroleum prices are increasing. Is it because of GST? Petroleum is outside the GST. Petroleum is outside the GST. Okay, and that too it is external problem. Because of that, inflation is increasing. Because of that, inflation increasing. But there is a problem, like services, and in the GST miscellaneous some services are included. Earlier services attracted 50% tax, but now they are attracting 18%. 18%. So because of that, it may cause the inflation. But again there is a problem here, like in the services, again they can get the input tax credit from both the supplier of goods and services to the services companies. If a service providing company, as a servicing providing company, I am paying 18% tax. Earlier I used to pay 15, but the point is I am getting input tax credit for both the goods and services who supplied to me. See, I am providing the service to you, I am paying 18% tax, but the point is I purchased this TV from somebody, and I learned this education from somebody, and whatever the goods and services that I am taking, I can take that ITC claim. I can take that ITC claim. That means overall my the tax rate will again come down. So the point you need to understand is the inflation, what is happening. Though there is a little hike in services tax, but because of the ITC it is compensated. But the remaining cases, the increase in inflation is not because of GST. Not because of GST. Actually, in other countries, after the introduction of the GST, inflation is increased. But here in India, GST has not caused any inflationary trend, because our CPI basket itself, the most of the 50% of the items of the CPI basket itself excluded from the GST. But the point is, when you start rationalizing, if you bring these items into GST tax net, then it will be difficult. It may lead to inflation. So that is the reason why you need to rationalize after stabilizing the inflation. So that is another important aspect. So this is about GDP and inflation. Still it is a challenge. It is a challenge. May not be directly related to the GST, but still it is a challenge, and we must take care when you are rationalizing the GST. Next, so these are some of the challenges that we are facing in the GST. Way forward. Now what we need to do? What we need to do with this GST? I already told GST has attracted lot of appreciation from the different industries, and state governments are also interested. The only thing is you need to streamline the process. Streamline the process. Streamline the process in terms of rules and regulations, in terms of the technical glitches, in terms of expanding to the uncovered areas or uncovered industries or uncovered sectors. So that streamline must be done. Second one is, along with this GST, you must do this ease of doing business. Very, very important. GST along with ease of doing business, because GST is a necessary condition but not a sufficient condition. GST can add little thing to your growth, but it cannot be the sole factor. So you must focus on ease of doing business also. Ease of doing business also. And rationalization should be happen only after inflation is stabilizing, because today we are maintaining an inflation of 7%, more than 7%. Once it is stabilized, then go for this rationalization. Go for rationalization of the tax rate in order to increase the revenue neutral rate and also simplify the structure into 2 to 3 routes. 2 to 3 rates, and again bring it to the unorganized sector, bring it to the level of unorganized sector. Next one is use modern analytical artificial intelligence tools, analytical and artificial intelligence tools for detecting this fraud, for detecting this. Use analytical and artificial intelligence tools for detecting these fraudulent mechanisms. So these fraudulent mechanisms are reducing the amount to the union and state governments. So it reduces the GST collection. So though we are having the good techniques with us, but we need to improve and we need to make it foolproof. Next one is, the another important thing is, actually the union government is saying, when it comes to the GST compensation, union government is not interested in extending the compensation period, because there are reasons. Already 2.69 or 2.7 lakh crore back-to-back loans were taken to compensate the state because they have lost the revenue during the COVID-19. They have to pay, union government has to pay this. From where they will pay? Compensation cess, from the compensation cess, and this compensation cess is going to continue for next 2 to 3 years. So they have to pay already this amount of loan, and if you ask the compensation beyond the 2022, then it is not sustainable, because you may not get that much amount of money from the compensation cess, because already you are liable to pay this money after 2022, because you have taken it as a loan. So that is why they are not interested, they don't go. Second one is, they are saying like, if you see compared to last year to this year, there was a 30% increase in GST collection. Because of lower base it is 30, but anyhow it is having a good number. Maybe in the regular year, if you looking into the last year to this year, the first few months if you see, it is again increasing, because the average is 1.51 lakh crore that we are saying. Average is 1.51 lakh crore saying. So last year average was 1.23 lakh crore. And even if you consider, this is for first 3 months 1.51 that I have explained in the last video. Even you consider the margin like normal 1.4 or 1.45 lakh crore as a month. This year if it continues, then definitely your buoyancy will be something like 1.3 or 1.2. So when your buoyancy is 1.2 to 1.3, that means your GST collections are growing at the rate of 12% or 13%, then definitely you no need to compensate, because we reached that level. We aimed at 14%, but at least we are ready to maintain 12 to 13%. So this GST collections may increase, because we are streamlining the process, we are bringing many people into this tax net, and also our economy is also going to recover. Because of all these things, our tax collection may go up, and ultimately we are end up in 12-13% of increase. If you are maintaining a 12-13% increase, then it's a good thing, because it's almost equal to 14%. So we no need to pay any compensation. That is what union government is saying. But anyhow, if suppose this entire hypothesis, if it goes wrong, then definitely union government must devise a specific plan in order to compensate the states, because states are asking like, of the total GST collection, give the 60% to the states and you take 40%. That's what they are saying. But anyhow, some mechanism must be devised, suppose if this entire hypothesis, if it goes wrong. The another important aspect is the Supreme Court recent verdict on this GST Council. So in the recent verdict on GST Council, Supreme Court said that the recommendations of the GST Council are only recommendatory in nature, but they are not compulsory. And some states are already started questioning that the GST, okay, whatever the decision that we are taking at GST, it's not compulsory. So we can have a different rate, and if every state like that, if they go for a different rate, that undermine the complete GST structure. So the point is, by keeping the Supreme Court judgment in this GST Council case, by keeping it in mind, and you must enhance this role of cooperative federalism. Cooperative federalism, that means the whatever the decision that you are taking, already we are taking it with the consensus, but still you must follow that practice, you must follow that practice, and you must stress on this in the on the event of, because the Supreme Court has given a judgment. So you must have a spirit of more cooperative federalism, and above all, the important way forward is, state cannot always comply the union government that my tax rate is only 8%, my GST tax rate increase only at 8%, 7%, so you please compensate to me. No, the point is, at the national level, some process GST we have brought and it is streamlining, it is a reform, and at the same time the state government should also implement their ease of doing business and enhance the economic production at the state level, so that you can also better use of this GST, and at the same time you can increase your revenue rates. So the state should also focus on their economic development instead of simply depending on union government and asking money. Okay, so this is something about the way forward and the challenges of the GST Council. So GST Council is a very good example of this cooperative federalism, and it is a very good reform, and I already told, in the views of Prime Minister, it is a path-breaking reform or path-breaking legislation for the new India, and it has shown some success. Still some problems are there, we need to address, we need to streamline it, and that is how we can get many benefits from this GST Council. Okay, thank you.
Amrita IAS Academy.